The story began with a woman and a man having a date by the pool. Through their conversation, we learned they were both lifeguards at the water park. Their names were Cindy and Brad. After their shift ended, they didn't go home right away. Instead, they wandered around the park and went up the water slide to make out. Soon after, a figure holding a machete appeared in front of them and brutally killed them both. Sometime later, the graduating class of Valley Hills High School in 2018 was planning their graduation event. They decided to hold it at a water park called Wet Valley. This idea came from Alice. She was an alumna of Valley Hills High and the main organizer of the event. Like any other graduation celebration, all the seniors were excited to spend time together. They could swim, ride water slides, and planned to stay at the water park for 3 days. At this point, we met the main character, Josh. He formed a school band called The Blades with his friends Chad and Slim. They were going to perform during the event. Later, an old man named Conrad walked up to them. He said he was the park's caretaker and repairman. Even though he had worked there for 35 years, he still looked energetic and sharp. A few hours later, Josh ran into Kim while practicing with his friends. It was obvious Kim was Josh's ex-girlfriend and she was now working there as a lifeguard. A brief conversation between Josh and Kim made Kim's current boyfriend, Tommy, jealous.
Babe, I'm hungry.
In the next scene, we met Michael. He answered a call from his son, Josh. On the phone, Josh deliberately invited his father to come watch him perform at the water park. After that, we met Priscilla, one of the managers of the water park. She was a 1992 graduate of Valley Hills High. Slim told everyone about a rumor among the students that Priscilla picked one graduate each year to hook up with. Meanwhile, the other students were enjoying the main attraction of the park, a set of tall, long water slide tunnels. So far, everything went smoothly, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. That was until a few mischievous teens slid down the water slide with bottles of alcohol. This incident made Paul, the owner of Wet Valley, step in. Conrad, the caretaker, cleaned up the broken glass and blood from the pool. In the afternoon, Kim and Tommy happened to run into Josh, who was chatting with Chad and Slim. Josh's friends called out to Tommy, asking him to find an extension cord. While Tommy was busy setting up the speaker and microphone cables, Josh took the chance to sneak Kim away to another spot. Once they got out of Tommy's sight, Kim and Josh started hooking up. Meanwhile, Josh's father, Michael, was having dinner with Priscilla. At first, they were just talking. Through their conversation, we found out Priscilla was the wife of Paul, the owner of Wet Valley. And Michael, Josh's father, was a wealthy man in the area. During dinner, Michael said that Paul had no idea what an amazing woman was sitting in front of him. Sometime later, Josh and Kim walked back to their friends because it was almost time for his band's performance. A few classmates watched them from a distance, and one of them said they were definitely going to get into trouble. At that moment, the seniors were excitedly watching the Blades perform classic 80s hits. Kim watched Josh playing, pretending to hate his singing and complaining about the noise from their instruments. Josh's father and Priscilla also came to watch Josh's performance. Up until then, Tommy still had no idea that his girlfriend had already cheated on him. Then one of the seniors recorded a video of Josh and Kim making out and shared it in the graduates' group chat. When Tommy saw the video, he exploded with rage. He ran onto the stage and started beating up Josh in front of everyone.
Okay, that's it, you're fired. Get out of here.
Things escalated further when Priscilla caught her husband cheating with Alice. After that, Michael walked up to his son Josh and tried to calm him down. Then he asked Josh for his opinion on whether he should buy the water park. But they didn't know Alice had been eavesdropping the entire time. She heard everything, so she went to find Paul and accused him of secretly negotiating to sell the water park. Alice was Paul's mistress, and she felt very insecure, afraid that Paul would dump her after getting the money from selling the park. A drunk Paul comforted her, promising he would never sell Wet Valley because it was his only source of income. A few hours later, all the graduates went to rest in their rooms. No one was wandering around outside, except for one person. He sneaked into one of the water slides and installed 2 giant metal blades inside. The blades were arranged in an X shape. Things got worse the next day. While Michael was walking around the park, he was obviously being followed by someone. Michael got shot in the leg and was dragged into the tool shed. Inside the shed, Cindy and Brad's bodies were still hidden, the lifeguard couple killed at the beginning of the movie. In the following scene, we learned that Tommy had been fired and Kim had just broken up with him. Soon after, Conrad walked up to Tommy and told him that Kim didn't care about him anymore. But Tommy still held on to hope because he was still in love with her. After lunch, the park's caretaker Conrad turned on the water supply for the slides. No one realized that one of the slides had blades hidden inside. Meanwhile, Priscilla, who was supposed to be working, chose to fool around with Slim instead of doing her job. That afternoon, all the seniors excitedly got ready for a fun competition with a $500 prize. They would race in groups to see who could slide down the fastest. Naturally, Josh and Chad planned to team up with Slim, but Slim was still nowhere to be found. Instead, they ran into Tommy. Even though he had been fired, he showed up unexpectedly. Tommy told them he wasn't there as an employee, but as a guest who wanted to join the race. The other graduates didn't like his presence and wouldn't let him join. With Slim still missing, Josh and Chad decided to invite Kim to team up with them instead. A little later, the idle Tommy noticed something suspicious. He saw water leaking out from the bottom of one of the slides. He also found pieces of the slide material, which meant someone had tampered with it. Meanwhile, all the graduates were lining up, ready to climb to the top of the water slides. Conrad was sitting leisurely by the pool, waiting for the race to begin. At the same time, Tommy was certain that one of the slides had been sabotaged. He started warning everyone not to go down the slides. Unfortunately, the graduates ignored him because they thought he was just trying to ruin the fun, especially after the drama he caused the night before. A few minutes later, the race was about to start. The event organizers and pool staff were making final preparations. To make sure everything went smoothly, Priscilla radioed Conrad, who was waiting at the bottom. Of course, neither of them knew that there were blades inside one of the slides. Tommy still wouldn't give up. He tried to tell Paul and Priscilla that everyone was in danger, but sadly, no one believed him. The race still began. An angry graduate even pushed Tommy down the water slide. Meanwhile, 3 girls were also sliding down the same slide. As expected, they were instantly shredded by the blades. The water flowing out of slide number 3 below had already turned blood red. Then mutilated limbs slid out along the slide. The other visitors screamed in terror. As Conrad hurried down from the lifeguard chair, he twisted his ankle. At the same time, Tommy, who had been pushed down the slide earlier, was almost at the blade's location. He had no choice but to pray that no one else would slide down. Meanwhile, Conrad immediately used his walkie-talkie to tell Priscilla to stop the race. Unfortunately, their walkie-talkies malfunctioned at that moment, so Priscilla had no idea about the chaos below. Instead, she invited Paul to take a slide too. Paul chose the doomed slide number 3. At that moment, Josh ran up the stairs and shouted loudly to everyone not to keep sliding. Paul was already halfway down the slide. He desperately tried to stop himself from sliding further.
Okay. Bodies everywhere! Something wrong in the tunnel!
Meanwhile, 2 female students and Tommy were stuck at the blades, pushed deeper by the rushing water behind them, and died instantly. No one expected that this seemingly joyful event would turn into such a bloody disaster. In the panic, Conrad told Chad and Kim to go to the tool shed to shut off the water pump. But when they entered the shed, they found Josh's father, Michael, and the bodies of the 2 lifeguards. Back at the slide, Paul couldn't hold on any longer because the water was rushing faster and faster. He was finally swept into the blades and died horribly. After the massacre, Josh learned from the lawyer that his father had left him a huge inheritance. However, his father had not completed the paperwork to buy Wet Valley Water Park before he died. He had planned to tear it down and build a $20 million shopping mall on the land. Since the park's owner, Paul, also died in the incident, that made Priscilla the only beneficiary of the deal. At the end of the story, Priscilla smiled. Then the scene flashed back to her memories, showing that many years ago she had witnessed her father being killed in the park, and no one helped at the time. She was just a little girl back then. From this, it could be inferred that the real mastermind behind the 2018 tragedy was Priscilla herself. She had likely planned a carefully crafted scheme, both for revenge and to get the inheritance.